Hey everybody, Secondhand Dan here, coming to you again from Homosassa, Florida land. I actually say it's Homosassa, but when I did a little research, it turns out I supposedly live in Homosassa Springs. Homosassa is like on the other side of the highway from me, which is about 3 miles down the road, but hey, tomato, tomato. Anyway, it's a beautiful day here right now. It's a little breezy, bit overcast, 81 degrees. Perfect weather for the project that I am going to do. So why don't you hang out with me while I finish this one up. What I have here is a Chrysler minivan, and it's from the neighbor across the street. He said they were trying to take advantage of him with the price quote they gave him to do the front brakes. So I said, yeah, I can help you out. You know, I needed something to do. Anyway, front brakes, caliper, rotors, pads. The funny thing is, I guess he had the pads done, but they did not replace the rotors and calipers because he was quoted something about $900 more additional dollars. So I did the driver's side, and now we're going to move over to the passenger side. The wheel cover was already missing. So now the thing with this Chrysler is the wheel cover, at a glance it looks like a mag wheel, but that's actually a wheel cover there, and it's held on with the lug nuts. So I did the other side yesterday, and it ran out of daylight, so I'm going to take care of this side now. Of course, anybody and everybody that knows anything about mechanicking, when you replace the calipers, most always is what they call a core charge. They want your old calipers back because you're buying rebuilt calipers and they need the old ones to rebuild and sell to the next people. But they do not want their rotors back. So I get to keep the rotor. The price of rotors is getting ridiculous. They're like nearly $100 a piece. And this is a half decent looking rotor. Look at all the meat on there, but there's a definite pulsation when you apply the brakes. So taking off the other caliper, I know it would not compress all the way back in when I put the C-clamp on it. So I figure it must have a certain amount of drag and was heating up the rotors. And that's why they got warped and got a pulsation in them. Now, I don't know if I could say that I am a mechanic or if I was a mechanic, because I have not been employed as a mechanic in about 25 years. I did get ASE certified, and I went to a trade school, but since then, you know, I got more into the secondhand merchandise, buying and reselling. Being my own boss has been great. And I wasn't very pleased with the amount of monies I was making being a mechanic anyway. I figured they wanted you to have, you know, thousands of dollars in tools and certifications and work flat rate, and it just wasn't making me enough money. They'd give me jobs like inspecting brand new or lightly used vehicles with a 100-point checklist I was supposed to take them through and check everything off, and then I'd only get half an hour flat rate attributed to me, even though the thing would take, you know, more time than that. And they weren't paying me flat rate, they were only paying me hourly. And if I did get a used vehicle with something wrong in it, often they would just send it over to one of the flat rate guys. So I'm like finding the jobs for them. So that was my last experience as a mechanic. And so I do a little bit work on my own vehicles, occasionally something like this. I really wasn't anxious to do it, but I figured, yeah, I'd like to be a good neighbor. Yeah, I'm gonna make maybe $100 here. And like I say, I'm not into it for the money. It's hot and sweaty. I don't have, a lift. I got to work with a floor jack. I got to work against being in the sunshine and getting sunburnt, but it's nice to make sure I still know how to be a mechanic when it's needed. I got to lay down on the ground and hope the fire ants don't attack me. This is the first time this year I had to break out this floor jack. Last year I did the brakes on my pickup truck. It doesn't like to roll around on all these pine needles, and I'm wiggling and wiggling. Anyway, I did the brakes on my pickup truck last year. Front brake pads and rotors, and went for out garage sailing, and the one rotor started getting hot and smoky because the darn caliper didn't want to retract. So nursed it on back home and put calipers on it. You used to be able to get your rotors cut. Like, that was a decent rotor there, but it's hard to find somebody that would actually cut them. I know back in Pittsburgh, we have a place that'll cut them. And plus, it would take more time hunting somebody down, and you have to drop them off and wait for somebody to cut them and then go back and pick them up again. Anyway, here's a new caliper for this side. Well, I should say rebuilt. It's they have core charges on those calipers. It's odd. One was $40 and one was $30. And I didn't lock in as to whether the right or the left was the more expensive core charge. But I just want to get this job done and get the man's vehicle back to him. It needs a lot of other work. Look at these wiper blades. They're like the rustiest thing I've ever seen. So I'm going to recommend he buy some wiper blades. I'll install them for no charge if he buys them. Oh, that's barely hanging on there. Oh, geez. Got to watch you don't let go of a wiper blade arm, and it'll smack the windshield and crack it. Okay, that one wasn't locked in place. I had to, of course, take the lug nuts off to do the job, and they were crazy tight. My impact gun wouldn't do it. I know this isn't the strongest impact gun. I have one stronger back in Pittsburgh, but still, I had to use the breaker bar, and I had to stand on it and bounce in order to get them to loosen up. So somebody definitely overly torqued them. My rule of thumb is your healthy grandma should be able to undo her own lug nuts. All right, we're working with 20. I think technically they're 19s, but I guess there's a little bit of swelling underneath them. So 20's been working good. I'm gonna have to bounce on this one. Let me go get a breaker bar and save myself the bouncing routine. All right, I got this pipe, which is actually, I think, to a floor jack. See a square hole in it. Okay. This the problem though. Then the darn socket wants to stick on the lug nut. I say they're probably 19.5 millimeter by now. When I put the other ones back on, I used some torque, just this, and an extension to torque them, and I didn't go ape on them. I once had my dad's car. I think I had to have a bar like twice as long and bounce on it until they snapped free, and there was like a loud snap for every one that I finally got free. And I was so mad that it took so much effort. I know the vehicle had been down at the one of the chain tire places, and they're the ones that said it needed brakes, and I said, why'd you guys tighten the lug nuts like that? Because I think sometimes people get mad when you opt not for them to do the job, and they say, well, here's your reward for not letting us do the job, and they over tighten your lug nuts. Mechanic's vengeance or something like that. And then again, also, a lot of people just don't know what they're doing. But those lug nuts were ridiculously tight. And I went down there and said, oh, it wasn't us. We didn't tighten. We got a special stick that keeps us from over tightening them. Yeah, but unless you've got documentation, video presentation of you using said stick and stuff like that, who's to say? Because I eventually ended up working down there. Maybe a year later, I got a job with them, and I worked for a year. And they did have what's called the torque stick. But unless you actually use them, then there's nobody breathing down your neck to make sure you absolutely use them. And they hire a lot of young and supposedly up-and-coming mechanics, or some people don't even want to be a mechanic. They just have enough reasonable skill to change tires. They'll hire them. Okay, we're off the ground. And that braze stops, it starts to feel muggy today. We're supposed to have rain around maybe 2 o'clock, and we need it. Definitely need some rain. Got the old burn ban going on here. We're not allowed to, typically you're allowed to burn stuff in this part of Florida, as far as, you know, branches and leaves and old pine needles and maybe some of your old cardboard. But there's a burn ban that says don't get caught doing any of that now, because they will fine you, because it's been dry for too long. And they're afraid that somebody will set the woods on fire, and they're right for that. All right, let me crank this out. Make a right turn of sorts. Oh, I gotta go grab the key. It's on the floor of my pickup truck. And that thing I did, you know, changing my dad's brakes, you know, no problem there other than the lug nuts being insanely tight. But I think it was a year later, he and my mom were out in the vehicle. I guess the clutch finally wore out to the point of like no return. Like if I'd been there, I'd be like, Dad, you can't return. The clutch is wiped out. But I guess being he was a uneducated in the way of mechanics and scared of being stuck, he tried and tried to get the car to go, which means he over-revved the engine constantly trying to drive it home. And I think I didn't know he did that. So I guess they finally got it towed. I said, well, yeah. He said the clutch was shot, so it went directly to the shop, and they replaced the clutch. But hey, after the clutch was replaced, we found out the engine was blown because it had been over-revved. So there was a waste of a couple $100 on a clutch job. Now this had no problem taking the calipers off. Okay, that's I think they're 21s. All right, you may as well come on in a little closer and see what's going on. I just took off the two bolts that hold the whole caliper assembly in place. Right now, this is what you would call a loaded caliper, because the pads, caliper, and the mounting bracket are all one right now. The only thing holding this on there right now is the hydraulic line. Just gingerly lay it down there. Stuck rotor. No, here it comes. There's definitely some score marks in this rotor. I mean, I would reuse it if it wasn't warped, you know, if it was my own vehicle. There's so much meat on here. And a lot of mechanics say, you can't use anything with a score in it. I use things with scores on it, just so long as it was even. And I figure the pads are going to match up with the score mark. You know, it was never a problem. I'd still get thousands of miles out of a rotor with a score mark in it. But if they're, you know, heavily rusty, or they're flaking, or heat cracks in them, yeah, then I'd go ahead and get them replaced. Here's what we got as a replacement. CarQuest Premium. They said there's a 2-year warranty on it, yada, yada, yada. Give us $7 more, we'll give you even a longer warranty. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Now the pads in this caliper, like I say, they're basically just shy of being brand new. Look at all that meat on there. I see we have another issue here. The ball joint boot is all torn up. It's actually kind of crispy, so they probably would just sell you the whole lower control arm. See the nut up there behind the... Take that out. Take that off and just replace that whole piece. So I'll alert him that it's going to need that, but I'm not anxious to say, yeah, sure, I can be the next job. Let me do that for you too. Like I say, I'm really not into being anybody's mechanic anymore. Ugh. Well, they put a rust proofing on these rotors because they're not sure how long they're going to be in storage. So it's a thin, almost like waxy, sticky coating. So let me wipe it down with a rag, and I use right now, I use what I have, and what I have is spray ethers for spray start. So that's enough to melt that coating and remove it. I don't have any brake cleaning solvent right now. There's very little of this starting fluid left. I'll spray against the wind here. Oh, it's nothing but air coming out right now. Come on. Okay, it's dead. It's dead. Well, I think I have lacquer thinner. I'll wipe them down with some lacquer thinner. Go over here to the shed. There it is. Oop, there it is. It even says cleans sprayers and tools. No reason to believe it would not clean a rotor. I mean, I venture even to say, this is what I'm putting on there, that even if you did nothing about it, this stuff's just going to burn off. But it's thinner than a layer of paint, so. All done. Yeah, I'm not sure how good I am about estimating wind speed, but I'm thinking it's at least 10 miles an hour winds. It seems to be fairly consistent right now. Let me look up and see how much a lower control arm costs. Because as much as I don't want to do it, I hate to leave it on there. So it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't. Let me get back to you. All right, after looking at up on the web, the lower control arm, you get them both, and you also get the I guess sway bar links, and it's kind of like a kit. I saw a price of $159, but I don't want this lower control arm job. I'm going to recommend that he get it done. I'm even going to give him the name of a mechanic to do it. I had a fella, I was trying to troubleshoot for the longest time. My brake light's not working on my pickup truck. They were intermittent sometimes, and they would work. And I, was out there with probes on the wiring underneath, taking the taillight lenses out, and it was frustrating. I gave up, and a guy from church, who is a full-time mechanic, I gave him the job. And it turned out to be my turn signal switch, and the steering column was bad. And the thing about it was that I had replaced it the previous year, not for that reason, but because it was like broken and kind of floppy and stuff like that. So I ordered off of eBay or Amazon, which I thought was, a heck of a deal for like $24 a replacement. So I guess that replacement bit me in the rear end. So I guess it was so cheap that it did not function properly. Okay, let me get the other pad out of this caliper. That's the inboard. The inboard has this bracket on it that goes inside the caliper's piston. Well, this side just sits on the caliper frame. And here's a spring to keep the thing from rattling. I had a Chrysler Town and Country myself a couple years back, and for what it was, you know, we liked it. It was very dependable. I think I eventually gave it to my mom and dad. Come on. All right, well, let me get the, excuse me. I'm going to cough a lot here. I've been fighting a virus now for almost 2 weeks. The replacement calipers came with new, what's called a banjo bolt, and copper washers, and a spring. For those of you who don't know what a banjo bolt is, it doesn't make music. Here, I got the one from the other side. At a glance, it looks just like a regular bolt. But if you hold it there, you can see there's a hole there. And if you turn it this way, there's a hole down the middle. So the brake fluid travels through this hole and out that hole and into your caliper, pushing the caliper onto the rotor. That's why it got the name banjo bolt. I don't know, but that's what it is. Okay, moving right along. Where's my prying screwdriver at? Oh, I think I already had it. Sometimes a pry doesn't work, a smack will. I want to get this spring off of this caliper. There we go. The spring looks brand new, so the caliper, you have to preload it before you can put it up on there. I don't know why, but this one seems to fight you if you try and mount the frame first and then come around and put the calipers on afterwards. What am I doing wrong? Okay. I like to add just maybe a little more grease on these, because although they are greased, I don't see any. You can hardly feel it. Let me get my rag. It's another thing, every time I'm working down low and then I stand up, I get that slight dizzy feeling. And I can't find my rag. Now, I still like working with tools. I like working in my workshop back in Pittsburgh. There's the rag. I like building things more than, quote, repairing them. I build steampunk lamps, and I'm gonna branch out and build other steampunk items like coffee tables and end tables, who knows, yard art. Okay, so getting our pad, thing one and thing two, because you can't even put this into there without simultaneously having this in place. They have to go together like the same time. I was saying before, I don't know why one caliper had a $40 brake cord charge and the other caliper had a $30 brake cord charge. Now the other side, I had already hooked up the hydraulic line, and it was not as convenient, I think, as putting these in before the hydraulic line, because there is a little bit of manipulation. I push the pad in and pull the frame up so the ears of the tab go in without getting hung up, and try not to pinch your fingers. All right, got one side in. Now they would actually call that the inboard pad, and they would call this the outboard pad. Now that one dropped in real easy, but then you got to get the spring on it, and that's where it fights you a little bit. Okay, it has 4 positions, or prongs, or tabs total, and 3 is easy to get in place. It's when you go to get the last one in place, it wants to fight you. Because like the 3rd prong can only be in maybe halfway to allow enough play to put the 4th one in, or over. And you get so close and you think, I'm there, but no. Let's try the pliers. Channel locks. There it goes in place. Okay, loaded caliper. Cover up my grease before more dirt gets in there. Okay, tighten it down. Oh, I backed it off. I would have thought it would have been in the back off position, and because I flipped the switch, figuring I was going the opposite, but for some reason I had it in the tightened position. I guess that could have happened while I was just picking it up. There we go, tighten position. All right, the caliper, she's in. Now I'll have to release the hydraulic line from the old one and move it over to the new one. That's the only difference. Well, I guess, yeah, your bleeder screw was the bleeder screw location, and the there's a boss on here that aligns the brake line. So those are the 2 differences between the left and the right side. This one has a plug screwed into the brake line hose, while the other one just had a plug that was pushed in. Now that was probably pushed in too, but it's a different style plug though. The other one felt like rubber, this one feels like plastic. I should be able to pry it out with my screwdriver. Better use a socket. I don't want to have it break off and leave a piece inside. I have to fight with that, because then I'll probably have to end up taking the caliper off just to get in a good position to get the whatever piece of plastic gets broken off in there. So I don't know why it has to be different than the other side, but hopefully I'll just handheld get it to unthread. Huh? There we go. Yeah, there it goes. Let me show you so you don't just think I'm BSing you. Actually, the other plug is inside the other caliper, which is right there. You got the one that was just a shove in, and you got this one which was a thread in. Don't know why they had to be different. I guess they buy whatever's on sale too at the caliper remanufacturing plant. When they run out of one particular size, somebody says, hey, I find we can get 500,000 for $100 of this particular style, it'll work. All right, use my impact to release this hydraulic line. Well, I want to get the banjo bolt, the new banjo bolt and copper washers ready so I can swap it over without this draining down excessively. What the snot is going on? Yeah, these are my metrics. Worked on the other side. Okay, so that is a 15. It says it's too small. So what would be next? 16. But do I have a 16? I got a 17. I got a 19. Okay, so I may go with my impact set. So I need a 16. I don't know why they put these socket sets to get together when you buy them, and some sets will skip over a certain size. 18, 17, here's the 16 and the 1/2 inch impact. Perfect fit. Get my banjo bolt out. Copper washers / seals. Okay, put one washer on because one goes under this piece I'm taking off. There she goes. Just a square shank. Put this through. Put another copper washer on it. Start it with your fingers. Take it as far as you can with your fingers. Get out of here. Into the mud, scum queen. That's another reason I don't like working on vehicles. You get your nice tools all greasy and oily. And plastic does not like to clean up very well from grease and oil. think my battery died. I'm sure I have, this is the 5 amp hour battery on here. I'm sure I have some of a lower power. Now, what I'm going to do is open up the bleeder screw, and if you just wait, often it'll start to trickle out the bleeder screw. So it's kind of like you're filling up the caliper with fluid without doing anything but waiting. And I don't know why they're different sizes. This here is a 3/8, 7/16 wrench. I think the 3/8 worked on the other side. Now it does not work on this side. 3/8 is too small, 7/16 is too big. There should have been metric on the other side, but it wasn't. That's a sloppy fit. That's 11. So where's the 10? 9, 10, right? Perfect fit here. I say that was not the same over there. It was a different size because I went through all my metrics. So I finally gave up and went and got a what's called SAE. I know some people, if it's not metric, they say, I need a regular. No, it's SAE. It's the Society of Automotive Engineers. Like I said, I'm going to go get a battery for that impact tool. I don't know why I didn't bring the other one in with me. It could have been stuck in the charger. But it's not like I'm going to need it in the next couple of hours for anything. So now I'm on the search for a tool that has the other battery in it. And I am not seeing it. I see other 20 volt tools. I don't see the other 20 volt battery. Hang on. This is a 20 volt tool in the house with it on. But I only have like, what is it, 3, 4 20 volt tools down here. I have probably a dozen 18 volt tools. All right, well, I found the other battery. It doesn't have the amp hours on it. It just says this lithium ion, but I'm assuming it's a 2 amp hour. There's some text on the bottom here. Battery pack 20 volt max, 1.5 amp hours. It's right there. I don't think they can make them any smaller than that. All right. Swap battery out. Give this a little more bang bang. I'm going to put a decent amount of crush on those copper washers so they seal good. And this battery is, I think, also, oh, there it goes. All right, crack open the bleeder screw. Switch down to my 3/8 drive. Now, I would not dare tighten the bleeder screw with this, but I don't have any problem releasing it, especially if you just caress it. There. So that's it for a few. I'm going to go put this in the charger. I'm not going to need it for this job. I mean, I can tighten the lug nuts all by hand torque. But who knows when I'm going to need the 20 volt tools for another job around here. Today is like May the 3rd. Got to think about getting my ducks in a row so when it comes time to pull out and head back up north, I'll be leaving these 20 volts here. I just got these new at the beginning of my my stay down here. I got down here in December and I went ahead and ordered some 20 volts for down here. I'm not going to drag my battery operated tools from north to south, because there's always something that you would say, well, why didn't I bring this too? Or why didn't I bring that? Or why did I bring this stuff? I never got around to needing it anyway. Take a look. Is there anything coming out of that bleeder yet? No. Sometimes you open the brake reservoir, the cap on the top of it, because it's right now maybe under a possible vacuum. Okay, I'm taking the top off of the brake fluid reservoir. Then I'm going to get cleaned up a little bit while that gets a chance to trickle out. Okay, we got that natural gravity bleed going on right now. See it? Drip, 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 drip. So that's the best way to get it started bleeding the caliper. You want to get the air out, and that's how to get that job started, especially when you're working alone. Tightening it back up. I'm going to go ahead and add some more fluid, just finger tight for now. That stopped the dripping. All right, add some fluid to the reservoir up here. That's right back here. Look at the cap to the reservoir. See how it looks like a little booby there? It's got like a little pyramid. You push that back down in. And that's designed so as the fluid gets less and less, that this gets pulled out, displacing some of the airspace in the reservoir. So I guess there's less sloshing of the brake fluid around there because it has less space to slosh around in. That way it's a closed system, but yet it still allows for some vacuum, at least for enough vacuum to go ahead and pull that down over time. And the wind is getting crazy. How do you like my my windmill there? Or whirligig, I guess it actually is. Those are actually the wheels off of some kind of trick shopping cart that was jacked up. I saw a bird trying to get in here the other day, but I haven't noticed him since. That was like 2 weeks ago, but I do see some hay in there. And I see a wasp of some sort flying up under my panel here. So let's see if he's getting waspy in there. No, I don't see any waspy nest. So it should technically be a bled system. So I should be able to push down on this pedal here. It should still feel fairly firm. And it does. But I still like to have the wife maybe come out here and we'll just go through the normal pump, push down, bleed procedure just to cross all our T's and dot all our I's. Well, I have to go over to the house and ask the wife to come out and operate the brake pedal. So she can be a bit camera shy if she's not already, quote, prepped, you know. Her hair's just right, her clothes is right, so I don't think this is one of those times where she's going to be prepped, but so, hold on. All right, well, the wife was out here. She helped me pump them, bleed them. I didn't notice any air. Usually you'll get a when the air comes out, but so I got to straighten up the wheel, the steering wheel, and put the tire and rim back on. Let me go ahead and start it up and actuate it. You got one wheel on the ground, you can do that, but make sure you use the brake so you don't neutral drop. The engine purrs nice. There's 122,000 on this. Put my foot on the brake, nice and firm, put it in drive, releasing the brake. The speedometer says we're doing 10 miles an hour. Applying the brake. Release the brake, apply the brake. Release the brake, accelerate a little bit. Second gear, third gear. Back off the accelerator. Huh. All right, put it in park. Let's go put the wheel back on. I mean, definitely the vehicle still has life left in it. Should be good for another couple of years. Sometimes they say better the monster you know than the monster you don't know. So like I say, it should have lower control arms put on it. Now that could be a safety issue, so you want to get those on there. Backing off these lug nuts. Looking at the back, I don't see anything, no drip, 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 drip or anything like that. You know, pick the tires up, or the lug nuts out of the sand, tap them, make sure you get the sand that could have gone up inside the threads back out. I do not like working in sand, but it beats working in mud. At least when I'm back in Pittsburgh, I got pavement to work on. I'll spin these down as far as I can with my fingers. especially if they're going easy. I can see his serpentine belt from here. It looks okay at a glance. I ain't no Rain Man Ray, but that guy's got a lot of patience. He's actually, I think, maybe an hour and a half north of where I'm at here in Florida. Okay, let me get the proper size out again, which I said was 20 in this case. And the lug nuts are slightly swollen. A little hand torque there. Nice looking sockets. I'm not sure how long they're going to stay nice though. Is that, it says 20 die hard. I mean, is that somehow lasered on there? Is it going to stay? I don't know. I may never put enough use on them to find out. But just a small snuggie here, being that we're still up in the air. Don't want to put all that torque against the axle. But I do want to take a lot of the slop out. Now I'll lower it on the ground and add a little more torque. This is the only job I've done for somebody outside of working for the auction company. I think I rode shotgun with somebody once that was taking crap to the dump. I got paid for that, but I'm not looking for too many paying gigs. I like to tell people I'm semi-retired. I feel like I've been hit by a semi, but I keep going. Okay, I believe that's properly torqued. I guess we're ready to go for a test ride. Put the hood down. When I first, before I even drove it, the owner told me, "Oh yeah, this got a vibration when you're 35 miles an hour." Well, I said, "Well, that's probably a front end suspension part." He didn't mention it was 35 miles an hour or more when you push on the brake, which I soon found out on my little test drive, which meant a warped rotor. Am I landlocked here? Don't want to drive straight ahead because straight ahead, well anyway, I got tools on the ground. Probably wouldn't cause any harm, but have a septic system down here, and I see those rods. I tried to mark out the leach bed. And this car is going to be in the way. I have a driveway that goes around. So I'm going to have to move this car. You know, if I do any work on cars, I should work on this one. The hatch does not go up automatically when you grab it and push the latch up there. You have to get it started with a tug. I thought it was supposed to go up if you just hit the switch, but it goes down automatically. So let me go get the keys. Turns out the keys were hanging on my belt loop, but I need to go in and wash my hands anyway. I got several videos on this here 2008 Lexus on changing spark plug coils, on chasing down the noise of the suspension and the repairs. It's been fairly dependable non-stop for the last year, but it was a real grief. Not long after we got it, the check engine light came on, and I determined one coil was bad, and I looked at the mileage and said, we're going to replace all the coils and plugs, and I did, and then they all started crapping out after being replaced at every couple of 100 miles. And so actually I think we probably have maybe 2 or 3 different make coils in the thing now, but it's been running fine. I don't want to do that coil job again. All right, like I say, this thing's quiet. So I'm going to back up rather than drive straight ahead over my leach field. Doesn't mean it's full of leeches. That means the overflow from the septic system leaches back into the soil. Just drove over my custom sidewalk there. How do you like that sidewalk? I believe that's something to do with nursery shelving. Plant stands of some sort for a nursery. I think I got them like 50 cents a panel. Bought about 50 panels and made a sidewalk out of them. Neighbor lives across the street that owns this vehicle. Driver's side window doesn't go down. Passenger side does. I don't think the air conditioner works either. But he's a homebody, so it's not too often he gets on the road and goes anywhere, maybe just to the Walmart or something. But actually, I think he has a lot of his groceries delivered from Walmart. I'd like to get him to possibly come out and go to a Sunday church service with us. Okay, no shimmy shutter. .40 miles an hour. Apply the brake. She's smooth. I should have my seatbelt on. I'll have to mention, I'm not saying he's guilty of, but I think it was largely the caliper's fault, because I think when I took the one caliper off and tilted it on its side, it almost looked like a little bit of sludge came out of it. But so I think the calipers were probably dragging and overheating the rotors. But you always want to tell people, hey, make sure that when you use your brakes, you just use your brakes. You're not riding with your foot on the brake pedal. There are a few drivers out there that do that. They consistently maybe rest their foot. They think ever so lightly that it's not causing any problems, but they would be wrong. So don't rest your foot lightly on a brake pedal. Smooth. All right, well, I guess that pretty much does it for this video. It's, you know, I'd say stay with me, but I'm thinking the video's long enough. So I'm going to load these calipers back into those cardboard boxes and go ahead and drive this vehicle down to the auto parts where I bought them, which is about 10 minutes away. All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking with me. Give a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe. I'd appreciate it. See if we can't grow this channel a little more. It's been 2 years. I'm still trying to find my footing as to who I am in it, but I know some videos are turkeys and some videos have some interest. And I've only had 1 or 2 that really took off, but thanks anyway. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.